Take a look at the local dailies. So yesterday, a lot of the government websites were hacked, and that's what features on the front page of the Daily Nation. Eventually, they managed to contain the damage, but then again, I think it's quite embarrassing. Hackers' paradise, they call it here. They say cyber criminals yesterday made several government websites, including State House, inaccessible and defaced pages by altering their visual appearance and content in yet another major security breach, coming amid repeated warnings by the Auditor General about system weaknesses. The attack exposes a state's laxity and puts the data of millions of Kenyans at risk. The story is on pages 4 and 5. Now, unajua Auditor General amekaa akiwaambia, these things are very prone to hackers, lakini hawaoni. Unajua tu serikali, no one can touch the serikali. So several attacks later, audit reports are gathering dust on the shelves of many state corner offices. So this is what happened, and they've given a timeline here on the front page of the Daily Nation. In March of 2016, hackers struck KRA, allegedly leading to loss of about 4 billion shillings. Alex Mutungi Mutoko was charged as dozens of KRA officers were suspended. In March of 2022, KPLC, there was an attempted hacking of the power distributor's prepaid system, leading to delays in token purchases. A year later, in April of 2023, the Kenya Airports Authority confirmed that a group identified as Medusa breached its systems but failed to steal any sensitive data. That same year, a few months later, in July, Anonymous Sudan claimed responsibility for a distributor denial of service attack on the websites of eCitizen, public hospitals and universities. That same month, a second attack claimed by Anonymous Sudan again paralyzed websites of several ministries and departments. So you can read more of that on page 4 and 5. The government came out and said they managed to contain that situation. Whether they've managed to do it 100%, we still wait for that. So yesterday there was also the mass hiring of police officers, 10,000 police officers, but there was a low turnout, and that also features on the front page. Watu ni kama interested sana, but I saw a video of one person mwenye aliambiwa that he was disqualified because of his height. Alikuwa amekasirika sana. Akarekodi video na hana shati na kuna askari nyuma yake. So nyinyi mnaniambia mimi ni mfupi. So there was a low turnout, disappointment that marked the police recruitment drive. And that's across the country. They were hoping to get 10,000. I don't know how many they got. That story, you can read more of it on page 2. Back to the front page. Why KNUT and primary heads oppose elevation of junior school teachers. NUT and the Kenya Primary School Heads Association have rejected a proposed administrative structure they say would allow junior school teachers, many of them fresh college graduates, to supervise or rank at the same level as experienced school heads. Where? Junior school. Safaricom to partner with Musk's Starlink. This was a big conversation. You remember was it last year when we first heard that Starlink was coming to Kenya, and the local service providers were very jittery about it. So now wameenda wakaunda deal yao. So Safaricom will partner with Starlink. Kindiki versus Gachagua, battle of the deputies in do-or-die poll contest. That's a big political conversation on page 10 about the by-elections coming up. On the back page, Wamboi leads Kenya 1-2 finish in men's 10,000 meters. This is at the 2025 Deaflympics. And congratulations to Ian Wamboi and David Kipkoskei. When they posed with their photos there, congratulations to the two. Elsewhere in the FIFA World Cup qualifiers, DR Congo captain Mbemba stars in win over Nigeria to keep alive World Cup hopes. That's as far as sports is concerned. The Daily Nation. All right.
The Standard, police bribe racket and a hard-hitting audit has laid bare a sprawling web of corruption at the heart of the police service, exposing a system where junior officers are handed daily cash targets and Kenyans are shaken down to meet them. The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission report paints a picture of institutionalized extortion, from matatus and bodabodas to bars and city traders, with officers threatened, transferred or framed if they fail to deliver. It details bribery cartels, compromised accident investigations, extortion rings, misuse of firearms, decaying infrastructure and gaps in training, revealing a security system weakened from within. This story has been covered on page 6 and 7. Now, 1,000 shillings per week is the protection fee demanded for each vehicle. 200 shillings to 100,000 shillings is the bribes demanded per stop from matatus on Ngong Road route. Okay, 1,000 bob. Can you imagine?
Per week.
If you are supposed to give out 1,000 shillings per week, yani from your vehicle, and then that 1,000 shillings a week in Ngong Road, you're also giving out 1,000 bob, from 200 to 1,000. So sometimes you can go home without anything.
Well, in fact, police should be taxed because this is, it has almost become formalized that they have to spend this much money if you're running matatu business.
Yeah. So this story has been covered on page 6 and 7. You can take a look at it. And that's the only story covered on the front page of the Standard. Tukiangalia ndani, Marsabit thirst, women forced to check Marsa's water sources dry up is a story covered on page 2. Kenyans still seeking answers on kin missing after Darpool's chaos. Families are in distress after relatives disappeared while traveling, studying or working in Tanzania. Next of kin have been forced to rely on civil society organization and word of mouth in their search for answers. This is another story on page 3. That story on police recruits. 10,000 recruits to join police service after 3-year hiring freeze ends, and the trainees will be recruited after enlisting moratorium came to an end. And Inspector General Kanja said the recruits will help boost security during the 2027 election. On the back page, Harambee Stars hope to shine as Senegal provide ultimate test, and Kenya lost 1-0 to Equatorial Guinea last Friday. Nabwire and Abuya upbeat as Stars face Senegal test. That's the Standard.
All right. Taifa Leo, wachezeana rafu ni habari ya kisiasa hapa, imepewa kipaumbele kwenye kurasa wa mbele wa gazeti hili. Wanasema kampeni za Mbeere North, Malava, Kasipul na Kisa East zimejaa propaganda mbaya, kupakana tope, vitisho na makabiliano hatari. Gachagua amewahimiza wakazi wa Mbeere Kaskazini kuzuia viongozi wa UDA kupiga kampeni katika eneo hilo, siku moja baada ya Gavana Marire kuomba IEBC imzime Gachagua kuvumisha mwaniaji wa DP katika eneo bunge hilo. You see, I saw one of the lawyers for UDA actually saying they're going to court, saying that Gachagua should not be allowed to campaign for the they're calling him the United Opposition candidate, but according to the lawyer says that candidate is a Democratic Party candidate. Gachagua is not a Democratic Party member and he has no business campaigning. I do not know if that even applies, but that story is on page 2. Natembea kirudi hapa Kisa Mashariki, siku nyingine tutamtoa suruali. Huyo ni fuko wa NIS. Keolofas Malala anasema hivyo. Wengine hapa Gachagua anasema tunataka kutangaza hapa kuwa siku ya kura hakuna mgeni atakubaliwa hapa Mbeere Kaskazini mpaka kura ipigwe na uchaguzi ukamilike. Ni kauli tu za watu kadhaa wakiwa kwenye kampeni. Wanasema ni kampeni zilizojaa matusi, vitisho, kudhalilishana na propaganda chafu huku chaguzi ndogo zikikaribia. The question is, will even the people of Mbeere North, Malava get to choose their own candidate or even get to choose a person they feel can do something better for them? Ama they'll be influenced by these people who are coming from elsewhere. Aya, kando na hayo, Nasir aonya wanafiki katika ODM. Masuala ya ODM yazidi kuzungumziwa kwenye kurasa za mbele. Kwingineko, njia ni ipi ya Gavana Orengo? Na vijana wachache walijitokeza kwa usajili wa polisi. Tumezungumzia hayo tayari. Pale juu wadukuzi wafanyia serikali ile kitu. Serikali yakiri kuwa nyingi ya tovuti zake ikiwemo ya urais zimeingiliwa. Sasa umelan a new Swahili word.
Gani?
Wadukuzi. Hackers.
Wadukuzi.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Kwenye spoti, Nigeria nje ya kombe la dunia kwa mara nyingine tena. Imagine the World Cup without Nigeria. Surely it's getting boring. But anyway, Taifa Leo.
People Daily, who will win the Mount Kenya vote? The crucial factors poised to shift the race. And this story has been covered on page 4. They call it Battle Royale. We have President William Ruto, Rigathi Gachagua, Kalonzo Musyoka, George Natembeya, Fred Matiang'i, and Martha Karua. Who will win the Mount Kenya vote? Opinion, by-election start tensions as ODM faces post-Raila clash is another story on page 10. And Kuleji on the front page of the People Daily, why the Rift Valley is quiet and what it means for the 2027 political contest. That story is on page 8, People Daily.
All right, it's the same story on the front page of the Star. They still talk about the 2027 election, and they say here, Ruto numbers against Kalonzo and Gachagua, and according to this paper, the president has an upper hand if he inherits Raila's entire voting bloc. This is a story given prominence on the spread on pages 4 and 5, and they say President William Ruto could secure a slight advantage over the united opposition in the high-stakes 2027 race if he successfully inherits Raila Odinga's long-standing political strongholds. Now, according to this paper, the Star, they've done an analysis and they say that analysis shows that Ruto currently commands about 24 counties with a combined 9.22 million registered voters based on the 2022 voter roll. Meanwhile, the united opposition collectively controls about 15 densely populated counties with 8.43 million of voters. Do you agree with that analysis? Sio sisi tunasema, iko kwenye kurasa ya The Star. Other quick highlights on the front page here, the number of hungry Kenyans to increase from 1.8 million to 2.1 million by January. This is according to a report, and you can read more on that on page 16. And there's a man who's 67 years old who's been imprisoned for 22 years for stabbing a relative during a family altercation. Ukirealize kwenye mnakasirika sana, usiende Christmas. Pale juu, and this is an interview with Raila Odinga's former spokesperson. And he says why ODM should support Ruto. Remember, today being a Tuesday, The Star is not for sale. You can grab yourself a free copy of this one. Hata wakikupatia bei hapo ya leo hufai kulipia. Plus, it comes with the complimentary MyGov pull-out for government tenders and job opportunities. The Star, fresh, independent, different.
All right, tukiendelea rakaraka, Business Daily, Tycoon Munga and China farm row over 4 trillion shillings coal mines, and the third company associated with Tycoons Peter Munga and George Karithi is locked in a vicious dispute with Chinese investors over ownership of coal mines in Kitui, with deposits estimated to be worth more than 3.9 trillion shillings. And China's fancy mining industry, Coal Limited, has threatened to file arbitration proceedings against Kenya, alleging that the government has, for over a decade, unlawfully allowed Mr. Munga and Dr. Karithi to frustrate his 21-year Mui Basin concession. This story is on page 2, and SACCO dividend cuts raise capital to record levels. Another story on page 2. On the ticker, Kenya delivers 1,795 affordable housing. And the Affordable Housing Board delivered less than 2,000 units for occupation in the year ended June 2025, making up a small fraction of the 200,000 homes annual target under President William Ruto's flagship project.
That's 1%, less than 1%. Less than 1%.
Equity funds struggle to attract investors. It's another story on the Business Daily.
All right, so those are the local dailies, a lot of politics about 2027 and even the by-elections coming up next week. And we'll be discussing that with these three gentlemen in studio in a few minutes' time. James Gakuya, MP Embakasi North, Harrison Kinyanjui, who's an advocate of the High Court, and Joe Mutambo, a former MP Mwingi Central. Do stand by for that. Later on the show, the discussion switches.
From 8 a.m., we'll be talking about this story and Hackers Paradise. What options are there at the moment?